Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today, prepare to journey with us into, well, a hidden realm, right here on our own planet.
hmm
A place where darkness reigns, pressure is immense, yet life. It doesn't just survive, it explodes in the most astonishing ways.
And it's all thanks to you, really, for bringing this fascinating topic of deep-sea hydrothermal vents to us here at the All Sorts podcast.
Absolutely, your curiosity drives these dives. So yes, today we're plunging into deep-sea hydrothermal vents and this incredible process, chemosynthesis.
Right? Chemosynthesis, it underpins these whole ecosystems. It's pretty remarkable.
It really is. Picture, cracks in the ocean floor spewing superheated fluid from deep within the earth.
Yeah. And they're not just small leaks either. They build these amazing structures. People call them black smokers, white smokers.
Exactly. And the really mind-bending part, they're full of life. Completely dark, no sunlight at all, just running on chemical energy.
It's wild.
Yeah.
And the sources you share, they really cover the gamut, how they form, the biology, and importantly, the efforts to protect them.
Okay, so our mission for this deep dive. Let's try and understand why these vents matter, how life manages this chemosynthesis thing in such, well, extreme conditions, and why these rare habitats need protecting.
Sounds like a plan.
Yeah.
Where should we start? The formation.
Yeah, let's do that. How do these things actually come into being? Where are they usually found?
Okay, so primarily you find them along mid-ocean ridges.
Okay.
Think of those huge underwater mountain ranges where tectonic plates are diverging, pulling apart.
Right, where new ocean floor is being made.
Exactly. Places like the East Pacific Rise, the Mid-Atlantic Ridge, those are classic examples.
So the planet's crust is literally cracking open there, and what's actually coming out, you said superheated fluid, but is it just seawater?
Well, mostly, yes. It starts as seawater that seeps down into the crust, through cracks, porous rock.
Uh-huh.
And as it goes deeper, especially near volcanic areas, it gets heated intensely, like really intensely, by the mantle, by magma. And this super hot water becomes a great solvent. It picks up dissolved gases, minerals, all sorts of stuff from the rocks it passes through.
Interesting. Is there anything else mixed in?
Yeah, there could also be what's called magmatic water. That's water released directly from the magma itself. So that adds another layer to the unique chemical soup coming out.
So it's quite different from, say, Old Faithful or a hot spring on land.
Oh yeah, very different source water. Those systems on land mostly use rainwater, groundwater that seeps down. Though they can have some magmatic water too, the primary source is meteoric. Deep-sea vents are fundamentally seawater driven.
Got it. And the temperatures, you said superheated. How hot are we talking?
We're talking a big range. It
Yeah.
can be, relatively mild, maybe 60 degrees Celsius. That's 140 Fahrenheit.
Okay, warm bath territory.
Yeah, maybe a bit hotter. But then it goes up to extreme levels. The hottest spurt ever recorded hit 464 degrees Celsius.
Whoa! 464 C. That's
Yes.
over 860 Fahrenheit. How is that even possible? Wouldn't it just boil instantly?
Well, that's where the immense pressure down there comes in. The hydrostatic pressure at those depths is incredible.
Right. Miles of water pressing down.
Exactly. And that pressure changes the rules for water. It allows it to access something called a supercritical fluid.
Supercritical fluid. Okay, what does that mean?
It's sort of a weird state, somewhere between a liquid and a gas. Pressure is so high it prevents boiling, even at those insane temperatures. So you get this super hot, chemically active fluid.
Fascinating. So there's like a specific point where it goes supercritical.
Yeah, for seawater, the critical point is around 407 degrees Celsius. At a pressure you'd find about just under 3,000 meters deep. So anything hotter or deeper under that pressure,
Becomes supercritical. Do we actually see this happening?
we do. There's a site, Sister Peak, where they measured that brief 464C burst, way past supercritical.
Incredibly.
And other places too. Turtle Pits has fluids at 407C. The BB vent field in the Cayman Trough, which is the deepest known, vents consistently around 401C, which is supercritical for its specific conditions.
And we're still figuring out what that supercritical state means for everything down there.
Pretty much. Its role in the geology, the chemistry, even the biology. It's a really active area of research. Still lots to learn.
Okay, so this incredibly hot, mineral-laden fluid hits the freezing cold deep sea water. And that's how we get the chimneys, the smokers.
Exactly. That's a rapid chemical reaction. When the hot fluid mixes with the cold seawater, which is maybe only 2 degrees C, the dissolved minerals suddenly aren't soluble anymore.
So they precipitate out, like solids forming?
Precisely. Often starts with anhydrate, that's a calcium sulfate. Then you get metal sulfides precipitating copper, iron, zinc sulfides. These build up layer by layer, forming the chimney structure.
And they seal themselves up over time.
Yeah, the mineral deposits make the walls less porous as they grow.
And they grow fast, right? I remember reading something about that.
Oh, astonishingly fast sometimes. Rates up to 30 centimeters, like a foot a day, have been measured.
Wow. Just constant mineral buildup.
It really shows the intensity of the chemical processes happening.
So these vents aren't just weird formations, they're actually pumping chemicals into the ocean on a big scale.
Absolutely. They're significant sources for various elements. For example, vents near Fiji are a major source of dissolved iron for that part of the Pacific.
And iron is important for plankton.
Yeah, phytoplankton in the surface waters often need iron. It can be a limiting nutrient. So these vents play a role in the whole ocean's biogeochemistry.
Okay, which brings us perfectly to the life down there.
Okay.
Because it's so different from the rest of the deep sea, isn't it?
Totally different. Most of the deep sea floor relies on marine snow, basically. Dead stuff drifting down from the sunlit zone. It's pretty sparse.
A slow drizzle of food.
Right. But around these vents, it's packed. The density of organisms can be 10,000, even 100,000 times greater than the surrounding seafloor.
It's like an oasis.
A chemical oasis, exactly. Because the base of the food web isn't sunlight.
It's chemosynthesis. There's that word again.
Right. You have microbes, bacteria, and archaea doing something amazing. Instead of photosynthesis, they use the chemical energy in the vent fluids, like from hydrogen sulfide.
Which is poisonous stuff, usually.
Highly poisonous to most life. But these microbes harness its energy to fix carbon. They take carbon dioxide and turn it into organic matter, just like plants do with sunlight.
So they are the primary producers down there, the plants of the vent world.
Perfect analogy. They form the base of the entire food web. And maybe the most amazing part is how other animals have evolved to live with these microbes.
Ah, the symbiosis stuff, like those giant tube worms.
Exactly. Giant tube worms, clams, mussels, weird shrimp, even those hairy-looking yeti crabs.
How do they live right in that toxic chemical bath?
They formed incredible partnerships. Animal-bacterial symbiosis. Many of these animals host the chemosynthetic microbes inside their bodies.
Inside them, like in their gut.
Often in specialized gill tissues, actually. It's called endosymbiosis, microbes living within the host's cells or tissues.
So the animal is like farming its own food source internally.
Kind of, yeah. The microbes sit there. The animal provides them with the chemicals they need from the vent water sulfide, CO2, oxygen. And the microbes turn those into organic molecules, sugars and stuff, that the host animal then absorbs for nutrition.
That is just astounding, finding life thriving like that. And didn't you say the microbes also help with the toxicity, the sulfide?
Yes, that's crucial. The microbes have metabolic pathways to process and essentially detoxify the sulfide. They use it for energy, but they also protect their host from its toxic effects.
A built-in detox system.
Pretty much. And we're learning these microbiomes do even more help with the animal's development, provide other nutrients, maybe defense. It's complex.
And the host provides the raw materials and a safe place to live.
It's a classic mutualism. Both partners benefit immensely. A truly remarkable evolutionary solution.
It just shows how interconnected life finds ways to be, even in places we thought were impossible. So we haven't always known about these, right? When did scientists first stumble upon them?
Well, there were hints earlier. Like back in the 40s and 60s, they found super hot, super salty water brines in the Red Sea.
Ah, okay.
But those were too extreme, too salty, didn't seem to have much life. The big discovery, the one with the thriving ecosystems, wasn't until 1977.
77? That feels really recent for something so fundamental.
It kind of is. A team using the submersible Alvin, exploring the Galapagos Rift, they suddenly found these vents just teeming with strange, unexpected life. Giant tube worms, clams. It blew people away.
I bet it did. Must have changed everything.
It absolutely did. It revolutionized biology, geology, oceanography, and the exploration hasn't stopped. We're still finding new vent fields, like the deepest ones in the Caribbean, down around 5,000 meters.
Wow. So discovering these vents opened up whole new lines of scientific thought.
Oh, hugely. It really made scientists rethink theories about the origin of life on Earth itself. Some think vents might be where life first sparked.
Really? Because of the chemical energy in minerals?
Exactly. And it sheds light on how early photosynthesis might have evolved. Plus, it got people seriously thinking about life on other planets or moons.
Like Europa. Or Enceladus, those icy moons with possible subsurface oceans.
Precisely. If life can thrive on chemical energy deep in our oceans, maybe it can thrive in similar environments out there. There's even speculation about ancient vents on Mars.
So studying our deep sea helps us search for alien life. That's quite a connection.
It is. And it also just gives us this incredible window into biological adaptation, how life pushes boundaries in extreme environments, and the sheer diversity of microbes doing things we never imagined.
Okay, so given how unique, how scientifically important these places are, it makes sense people want to protect them.
Definitely. And they need it because despite their importance, they're actually incredibly rare. If you added up the area of all known active vents globally, it's tiny, some compared to the size of Manhattan Island.
That's small for all that biodiversity.
That's small, which makes them vulnerable. That's why they're often flagged as vulnerable marine ecosystems, VMEs, by groups like the FAO, fisheries organizations.
Okay.
And in places like Europe, they're on conservation lists like OSPAR, part of the Natura 2000 network. There's a growing recognition they need special attention.
So this rarity and scientific value means they're facing threats and we need to step up protection efforts.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The key thing is that these unique spots, crucial for science, are facing real human pressures now.
So what's actually being done? Are there like deep sea national parks for vents?
Sort of, yeah. We use things called area-based management tools, ADMTs, which includes marine protected areas, MPAs. Canada was actually a pioneer here.
Oh, yeah. What did they do?
Back in 2003, they set up the Endeavour Hydrothermal Vents MPA. It was the first one specifically created just to protect vent fields.
Wow. 2003, what kind of rules are there?
Pretty strict. Things that could disturb the vents or the seafloor are generally prohibited. There are exceptions, but mostly for scientific research that helps understand or conserve the vents.
That's great. Are there many others like that now?
Yeah, the number's growing. There are maybe 20 or so areas or networks globally with specific measures for vents, run by about 12 countries and some regional fisheries groups across different oceans.
And they have different levels of protection.
Right. Some focus mainly on stopping bottom trawling, which can wreck seafloor habitats. Others have broader rules covering potential mining, regulating research, bioprospecting.
Bioprospecting, like looking for new medicines or enzymes.
Exactly. Some rules try to manage that too.
Yeah.
And then some larger protected areas like the Palauanek-Krakatau Reserve or the Sanctuary in American Samoa just happen to include vents within their boundaries and protect them that way.
You mentioned American Samoa, Velulu Seamount.
That sanctuary includes Velulu Seamount, which has active vents. The rules there prevent trawling, mining, dumping. They're basically aiming to protect the whole system, including the vents. Adding Velulus was a big step for that sanctuary.
It sounds like a patchwork quilt of protection, but it's growing. What about international waters? Areas beyond national control?
That's trickier. The Convention on Biological Diversity identifies EBSAs ecologically or biologically significant areas, and many include vents, which helps flag their importance.
Okay.
UNESCO has looked at places like the Lost City Vent Field as potential World Heritage Sites, which would be huge recognition.
That would be amazing.
And crucially, the International Seabed Authority, the ISA, they're the body responsible for regulating mining in the high seas. They're working on rules specifically for mining around vents and other sensitive areas.
Mining. That seems like the big looming threat, doesn't it?
It's certainly a major concern. Besides potential damage from bottom fishing in some areas, deep-sea mining is the emerging issue.
Why mine there? What are they after?
The mineral deposits that form the chimneys and mounds around vents are often really rich in valuable metals. Cobalt, gold, copper, rare earth elements.
Yeah.
Metal is important for electronics, batteries, that kind of thing.
Right. But mining down there, what are the risks?
Well, there are quite a few potential impacts. The mining process itself could stir up huge sediment plumes.
Which could choke filter-feeding animals.
Exactly. Smothering benthic life. Then there's the direct destruction of the vent structures themselves. You could trigger collapses, block fluid flow, or even accidentally open up new flows.
Doesn't sound good.
No. Plus, you could release trapped methane hydrates, cause underwater landslides. There's noise pollution from the machinery, light pollution in a normally dark environment.
And waste.
Yeah, waste sediment disposal potentially containing heavy metals stirred up from the deposits. And a really important point, the vents we know best, the ones most studied, they might not be the same type as the ones targeted for mining, so predicting impacts is hard.
It sounds really disruptive. Have we done this before? Seafloor mining.
There were attempts mainly focused on manganese nodules on the abyssal plains decades ago. The technology and economics are complex, but the interest is definitely resurgent now for these vent deposits.
If an area is mined, can these vent ecosystems bounce back? Can they recover?
That's a huge question, and the outlook isn't great. Recovery is expected to be incredibly slow if it happens fully at all.
Why so slow?
Because the whole system depends on that specific vent fluid chemistry and the chemosynthetic bacteria.
Mm.
If you disrupt the plumbing or wipe out the microbes, the foundation is gone.
Right.
Studies of vents hit by natural disasters, like underwater eruptions, show it takes years, maybe decades, for microbes to reestablish.
Mm-hmm.
And the animals take even longer, and sometimes different species come back than were there before.
So you might not get the same ecosystem back.
You might not. We really need a lot more research to understand the long-term consequences before large-scale mining potentially begins.
It really feels like we're at a crossroads, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Balancing this potential resource against protecting something unique and, frankly, still mysterious.
That's exactly it. We have these incredible natural laboratories teaching us so much about life's limits, maybe even its origins,
Mm-hmm.
and we need to be incredibly careful about how we proceed.
This deep dive, it's been, well, mind-expanding. These vents aren't just geological quirks, they're whole worlds running on chemistry, so vital scientifically, so unique, and clearly facing real threats.
The conservation need is becoming very clear.
And as we learn more about these deep, dark oases, it makes you wonder, right? What else could they teach us about life's resilience, its fundamental nature? And maybe the tougher question is, what's our responsibility here? How do we protect these corners of the planet as we keep exploring and, yes, considering the resources they hold?
Those are definitely the big questions. They really highlight why we need continued science, international cooperation, and really thoughtful management to make sure these incredible places survive.
Absolutely. And speaking of incredible explorations into the unknown, if this journey into the crushing depths where life explodes in the most bizarre and beautiful forms, if that sparked your imagination, if you crave more expeditions like this into all the fascinating corners of our world and beyond, then please join us. Become part of the All Sorts podcast community.
Yeah, definitely do.
Like, share, subscribe on YouTube. Think of it as your own personal submersible for all the other deep dives we've already taken.
Good one.
And follow us. We're on X, Instagram, Threads. You'll get glimpses behind the scenes, more cool stuff to think about. Your support really does fuel these explorations. It lets us keep doing this, so thank you. And thanks for taking this deep dive with us today.